going to invite Alyssa to come on up, and she's going to share with you her story of being dead and finding new life.
Hi, I'm Alyssa. I'm 17 years old and a junior in high school. I am the oldest of three, and like a lot of people, I was raised in a Christian home. For the first 12 years of my life, my family went to the Mennonite church where both my parents had gone to growing up. And then at that church in 2017, I was baptized for the first time. I did mean it, but I was also feeling a lot of peer pressure from my friends who were also getting baptized. At that point in my life, I knew that I wanted to be a Christian and live for Jesus, but I never really did anything about it. During COVID, we stopped going to church, and I was no longer hanging out with my church friends. Plus, after I finished 6th grade at Donegal, my siblings and I started homeschooling. I didn't really have any community other than my family. After a while, I noticed that none of my friends from school ever reached out. I began feeling really alone, and I missed having more than one friend. Then my family started coming to Hope. And even though I was making friends, I wasn't super close with any of them yet. I was still lonely, and I started getting depressed. I never wanted to get out of bed, and when I did, it was the early afternoon. I was always up late, just doing anything to keep myself from my thoughts, and when that didn't work, I would end up crying myself to sleep. I hid it well, but in doing that, I distanced myself from other people and my family. I spent a lot of time in my room doing anything that I could do by myself. I never really read the Bible, prayed, or worshiped outside of church. Whenever I felt like I was in a spiritual high, I would have panic attacks, which scared me away from growing in God. Most of the time, I just felt kind of meh. At some point, I got tired of feeling that way, and I decided that the best way to get rid of that was to feel something. So I hurt myself. I did it a lot with anything I could find. I would do it during panic attacks because I was feeling bad about myself or just because I wanted to. I never really told anyone because I didn't want to face their pity and disappointment. Eventually, I told someone that I thought I was close enough with, but they laughed at me. I felt stupid for being so trusting. I was always putting myself down for even the littlest things. When people told me it would be better if I were dead, I believed them. Even though their words hurt, the way I treated myself hurt more than any knife I had ever put to my skin. After a while, my mom found out, which I hated. I hated the disappointment and sadness on her face, but I mostly hated that she knew how weak I was. She told me that she thought it was mostly spiritual warfare. This made sense because I always felt the worst after youth group, church, or winter retreats. I knew she was right, and it scared me. I stopped worshiping wholeheartedly because I thought it would help me to feel better. I turned to worldly things to bring me joy and used that to bury my pain. I really didn't want people to know, but I ended up telling some of the girls in my small group that I was closer with. It was really difficult for me, but it felt good to know that they cared enough to listen. My small group leader, Erica, constantly encouraged me to go to God with my struggles. I was worried about what the effects would be, but I just did it. When I started reading the Bible more constantly, it turned to me actually wanting to read it. In my reading, I was reminded of how God made me to be who I am. And He loves me and thinks that I'm beautiful even when I don't. Last summer, I felt like I was in a really good place in my faith. I made a promise to Him and myself to never harm God's daughter again. I stopped being afraid of what would happen if I had more spiritual battles. I started reading my Bible and praying, which was uncomfortable at first, but as I grew, that stopped. I went to a worship night with some of my friends, and one of the leaders of that group mentioned that they would offer baptisms that night for people who decided to dedicate their life to Christ. I felt called to do it then, but I let my thoughts get the better of me. After a few days, I decided that it was something I should pray about. I chose to focus on growing in my faith whether or not I got baptized. I'd been praying about it for a few months when my friend Carly mentioned that she also wanted to get baptized. It was really nice to have somebody to talk to about it. I still felt like there were a lot of unknowns surrounding baptism for me. I knew that I would struggle to share my testimony, and I worried what people would think of me. I ended up talking about it with Erica over coffee. After that, I knew that baptism was something I should pursue. I had come to know that Jesus was the one who had saved me from the darkness I was drowning in, and that he would continue to help if I continued to let him. He showed me that I was unable to keep living without him, and even though I felt unworthy of his love, I knew that Jesus would be there for me when no one else was. I'm not the same person I was a year ago because of him, and even though it's difficult to share what I've been through, I'm prepared to tell everyone how Jesus brought me out. His scars from his sacrifice for me will forever mean more to me than my own.
Alyssa, thanks for being so bold and so willing to share your story, which is so powerful. I think you're going to have a lot of people supporting you. Alyssa, have you put your faith in Jesus Christ as the only person and the only way to have your sin taken care of? And are you choosing to follow him as the leader of your life? If so, say I am. Alyssa, based on your profession of faith, I now baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.